Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 85 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful, comfortable, and fall-like conditions of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Hopping into this episode, guys, episode 85 will be dedicated to week 7 of the NFL. I have a recap of the games that I watched. It was a jam-packed weekend of games. Definitely got a lot of content I want to discuss with you guys and go over. So I'm going to hop right into it. Got my Sunday started pretty early. Sunday morning, these London games, these international games, don't get me wrong. I love football. I love when good teams play. I wouldn't even mind if it was two good teams playing early in the morning. And I understand people are working. You kind of want to have a filler game. I get it. That being said, this weekend, going into this game of Jaguars and Patriots, it was one of those games where it was like, okay, both teams are ass. Rookie quarterback starting for New England with Drake May. Jaguars, trying to get off the losing streak. Let's see how things play out. And it was weird because Patriots started out hot. The offensive line play was pretty good. Drake May was making plays. Consistently and continually showing to flash. I think that's good. That being said, though, the Jaguars defense looked horrible early. I mean, they just looked like the same defense they had been the week prior and the week prior to that. Didn't really look like any fight was in them whatsoever. But however, once Jacksonville had started utilizing the running game on offense, that's when it kind of like stabilized for them and they were kind of able to take control of the game. The Jags finally played a physical brand of football, which is something they've been talking about and harping on for a couple weeks now. And it's definitely good to see that, now it's being addressed. Now it's like, oh, okay, now, physical brand of football, these guys know what's on the line. They got to deliver. It's good to see that. They had 171 rushing yards, 6.2 per rush, so 6.2 per play, excuse me. So I think that was impressive. Like I said, the Jags receivers played better as well. Brian Thomas played better, 5 receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. As a group, as a collective, I thought the ball distribution was very good for Jacksonville. 15 receptions and 193 yards in total from the whole receiving group. Again, that's what you need. That's the type of performances you're going to need for this team to be successful. You can't have games where they're dropping 3 or 4 passes in the fucking red zone. That was just horrendous. That being said, New England. Like I said, Drake May showed he was pretty decent. 26 to 37, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. The part that was very startling for me is we hear a lot of cliches and colloquialisms when it comes to football. One of my favorite, though, is a quarterback's best friend is a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback. His best friend is a running game and a tight end, right? They got Hunter Henry, good number 2. They don't really have a legitimate running game. And why do I say that? Because, a lot of people are like, oh, Ramondre Stevenson's good. He all right. That game against Jacksonville, Drake May had 3 carries for 18 yards. Now, you're probably wondering, why is that an issue? Why am I even bringing that up? Well, that's because Ramondre Stevenson had the same amount of rushing yards. So, not good. No consistent running attack. That's going to get your quarterback killed. That's putting you in obvious passing situations, which they were from the second half on. They did have better wide receiver play. I will give them credit. Looking over the stats, they had 26 receptions and 276 yards as a unit, 2 touchdowns, which was definitely good. However, Jalen Polk. Jalen Polk has struggled this year. Out of all the rookie wide receivers, he's the guy that doesn't get mentioned because he's kind of cast away up in New England, and we all just assumed because it was Jacoby Brissett playing. there were opportunities for Jalen Polk to get the ball, and he's struggling. 3 targets, 0 catches. Not great. Not great. Defense also, which has been a staple during the Belichick era of being hard-nosed, physical, tenacious. They're fucking soft. They're fucking soft. I'm not mad at Gerard Mayo for saying what he said. Kind of felt like Bill kind of took a little shot at him in the organization with his comments. That being said, though, the team's soft. They're not as physical as they once were. Even back in the day, it's not that New England necessarily was the most talented team roster-wise. They just had better head coach, better O-line coach, better quarterback, better kicker. The special teams was better. They just outplayed you. They made 1 or 2, 3 or 4 great plays that you couldn't make, and that was the difference. This defense is horrible. To lose 32-16 and to hemorrhage points the way they did after it was a game within the first quarter. Yeah, it's just they're nowhere where they need to be yet, and it's gonna be a long year for them. You gotta like what you're seeing from Drake May. Gotta say that. Gotta like what you're seeing from Drake May. However, this defense has got a lot left to be desired. They're not anywhere close to where they need to be. Neither is the offensive line. The offensive line was bad too. For Jacksonville to get the pressures that they were getting and having to force this kid out of the pocket the way they were, it was crazy. But shout out to the Jags for getting off the snide and getting that victory. Next game I definitely caught an eye and definitely watched throughout, which was very interesting to me, was Texans versus Packers. Packers won this game 25-22, field goal late to seal it. But what I really want to harp on about this game, which I thought something I think the Packers defense is exposed, and shout out to the Green Bay defense. They've been good. They've been consistently good throughout the whole season. I've watched a lot of film. I've seen their safety play between Javon Bullard and Evan Williams. Young studs. Definitely like what I've been seeing from them. The Packers made life for C.J. Stroud hell. He couldn't get it together. He was 10 of 21 for 86 passing yards. They frustrated him. Shout out to the Green Bay defense for what they did. Amazing performance. Stifled C.J. Stroud. Never seen C.J. Stroud look like that. It was impressive. And they just continue to get better each week. You got to give the Green Bay Packers a lot of credit. It's not like they're going out there and they're playing whack-ass teams and they're winning. They're playing very good rosters, and they're contending, and they're staying in it. And some of these games are just downright dominating them. Jeff Hafley has come with a new philosophy, a new identity. He's gotten guys that he possibly would have recruited in college and may not have been able to get because he was at Boston College. And I went over this over the summer in the 32 teams in 32 days segment. I went over this during the draft review. You kind of saw the formula and the mold of what they were doing with a lot of their draft picks, and it's coming to fruition. So shout out to the Packers there. Another thing I want to definitely bring up too. I love how Jordan Love plays what I call high-risk football. I know somebody who's watching this who knows football, who's coached or probably just been in the game, would probably look and say, this kid doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. What I mean by that is, I understand that, you're going to have to take out risk and opportunities because, and just personally, when you're looking at the game, if you're going to throw between 25 to 35 times, that's on average 3 to 4 of those have opportunities to be legitimate interceptions. A couple of them might get tipped. So let's err on the side of caution. If you're throwing 35 times, let's say 7. So 7 of those passes are a legitimate possibility of getting picked off, if not all of them, right? And the thing that I think Jordan Love, a lot of people have been harping on the fact that, he turns over the ball a lot, he's kind of risque, he makes the plays that sometimes you don't need to make. My argument, though, is that's been a part of his game since he's been, a draft prospect, a legitimate quarterback, even in college. That's just a part of his game. He can make the amazing plays. He could be a guy getting sacked and heave the ball 30 yards. He could be a guy hurtling over the line, trying to get out of bounds and then toss it 40 yards down the field. He has that type of capability and ability. However, I do understand where the fear and some of the fraud comes from, because that is something that can be detrimental down the stretch. I do think that, if he continues to make those plays and it's rapidity with it, where he's just making it at a frequent rate and the team's not able to move the ball and get better, yeah, you have to definitely consider it as a concern. But if you see that he's throwing 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, or 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but your team's winning and he's making plays in the end for you to win, it's really frivolous at that point, because really in this league it's about wins. Now we're not going to bullshit ourselves. You can't turn the ball over and win consistently. That's not going to happen. However, I think that Jordan Love gets a lot of flack because we kind of forget this is his second year fully starting. It's not like this guy has been playing for 5 years. It's his second year fully starting, so he's seeing other things that he didn't see a year ago. So again, kudos to Jordan Love and how he's playing. Keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're on a roll. And definitely love the way the Packers ran the ball. Definitely ran the ball efficiently against the Texans. It wasn't necessarily they had a 100-yard rusher, but between Emmanuel Wilson and the combination of Jacobs, I like how they do it. I like how they attack the ball, how they attack defenses with that running game. Very impressive. The Texans, their rushing attack was good too. Houston had 142 yards on the ground. Now, to keep this into account, Joe Mixon was 25 carries for 115 yards, so he accounted for most of that rushing. However, their run defense has failed them. As a matter of fact, I won't go out on a limb on this. I don't think it's going out on a limb. The Texans' defense has failed this team. Outside of C.J. Stroud being frustrated and looking not like himself, can we honestly say that, Stephon Diggs 5 for 23, Nico Collins is missed? Let's not bullshit ourselves. Stephon Diggs was 5 for 23. Nico Collins is missed. I know when they're able to get him back, they're going to be ecstatic because oof. Next, we're going to hop right into Chiefs and 49ers. I definitely enjoyed watching this game. This game was one of the uglier games of the day. It was a game that I kind of thought might be a little bit more explosive than what it was, but wound up being more of a defensive battle. Should have kind of known that, especially after how the Super Bowl played out. But each year is different. You can, hope for a lot of things, but whatever. Nonetheless, the Chiefs and 49ers, like I said, Chiefs won the game 28-18. The Chiefs continue to just dominate this team. They own the 49ers. They're in their heads mentally, emotionally, and physically. They're in their heads. It doesn't even always have to look sexy for the Chiefs. It's kind of like where they're not playing the best football that they could possibly play. And like I'm gonna get into a big move they made this morning that I reported on earlier, acquiring Deandre Hopkins. That's why this is needed, because there was plays during that game Sunday where you saw where Mahomes overthrew Xavier Worthy, and then there was a play where he put the ball right on perfect touch, and Xavier Worthy through contact falls down and it becomes an interception. Not great in the least bit. So just one of those things where it wasn't necessarily sexy, but Kareem Hunt's been a fucking godsend for the Chiefs. I mean, if anybody's paying attention or really, really focusing, Kareem Hunt has literally looked like the Kareem Hunt from a couple years ago. I love it. 184 yards rushing. Again, efficient, amazing. Damn efficient. That's great. 184 yards rushing. I mean, that's dominant. And Pat Mahomes also got in on the action with some of that too, so you got to give him credit for that. The defense looked sharp, especially against the run. They weren't allowing San Francisco shit. They took that running game away. They told Shanahan, we're going to need that young quarterback that you call elite and you love so much. He's going to have to beat us. Touch on that briefly too. It's weird. Like I said, they're 6-0, and they're not winning sexy, but they're undefeated. And you don't know what the hole is, because we assumed, the youthful receivers would be the hole. That's not the hole. We assumed, maybe the defense takes a step back. That wasn't the case. Maybe, Andy has some coaching or blundering errors early. No. So, 49ers, Not a good football team right now. Not the least bit. Special teams bad. Suck on third down. Suck in the red zone. Running game's inconsistent. Brock Purdy playing like shit. They need Christian McCaffrey back ASAP. They had 24 as a team. They had 24 carries for 101 rushing yards. Not gonna get it done, especially for Kyle Shanahan offense. Definitely not gonna get it done. And then to add insult to injury, you got Brandon Ayuk who gets suffers an injury, suffers an ACL tear. Per Kyle Shanahan, he said it was ACL, it was possible ACL tear. It was confirmed it was ACL tear. So, my condolences out there to Brandon Ayuk. Glad that you got the bag, bro. Glad that you got the bag. 49ers definitely got to pay for most of that. So this is why you want guys to hold out and get guaranteed contracts, because of shit like this. Where guys running a route and he just gives out, and the next thing you know, boom, he's out for the season. But he's good now because he's got guaranteed money. So that money's still coming in. Because there's a lot of people that talk shit about Ayuk. Like, why did you do that? This is why you do it. Going a bit further, major loss for the 49ers, and I'm not sure how they'll be able to replace, that production from Ayuk, especially with them being gone, but maybe Parasol takes a step up. They play Dallas next week. Might be a get-right game for the Cowboys, but definitely a must-win for the 49ers. Let's not bullshit ourselves. Either team lose that game, you're starting to think maybe the playoffs are not in the picture, so who knows. I think also, too, I think it's even hilarious when you think about Washington versus Carolina. That game was a shit show. I didn't really stick around too much to watch that. I took some key notes that I could really take from it. One, Jayden Daniels injured his ribs. Sucked. No problem, though, pretty much week to week. They're going to be evaluating him and seeing how that goes. Hopefully he heals fast. This guy's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Him actually sitting out and the Eagles possibly pulling off some victories might help them or might help Dallas. You never know. So him being out definitely sucks. But Washington was able to win this game again 40-7. They just pretty much got whatever they wanted. They got whatever they wanted. And I don't want to hear any more excuses, which leads me into the Carolina Panthers. I no longer want to hear any excuses that it's Bryce Young. Bryce Young was a scapegoat. Bryce Young was the guy who caught all the hell, who was pretty much told how bad he sucked and he wasn't ever going to reach his potential. And this guy just, he can't throw. And this team looks like shit. Andy Dalton looks just like how Bryce Young looked a couple weeks ago to a year ago. So, defense garbage. No running game consistently. No separation on the outside from your wide receivers. I mean, it's just bad. Again, and you're fighting for a draft pick at this point. You literally, as a team, you should be in sell mode. Get rid of some of these guys that aren't really benefiting you, who aren't really making any damn money or kind of just like lounging around and, collecting checks, because in all honesty, going to be hemorrhaging soon. You think about it, you've committed a lot of money to guys who aren't going to be on your roster, and on top of it, you still got to pay them, and then you still got young players coming in. The genius of David Tepper. Going a bit further, y'all. We'll hop into that Monday Night Football doubleheader they had going on. We checked out that Bucks-Ravens game first. Ravens won 41-31. Do know that score was a lot worse than that. It's just Bucks, tried to come back late, even though they were down by 2+ scores. And the Bucks started out hot because, ironically, they had a 10-point lead to start the game. It completely choked and it fizzled. They surrendered 17 straight points before halftime, just allowed the Ravens to completely get back into the game. Once the Ravens had got a couple turnovers, especially a key one in the red zone, the defense just needed to play more sound and keep the lead. And, at that point, there was already like a 7-point lead. But second half of that game, Ravens were just ferocious, fucking tenacious, dog-like, just kept sending the pressure. Missed field goal by the Bucks. kind of made that game a little awkward because at that point it was Baltimore 20, Tampa Bay 10. It was still a football game. That field goal, draws it to a one-score game. The field goal was missed. Going a bit further, Baltimore has scored on the last 4 drives that they had, which I thought was impressive. Going into the top of the second half. And Tampa, you're just going into it. Your defensive backfield was taking hits. Tampa was just getting killed where it was just like, what is it? What's on? Just they're getting killed, busting on like that. It was a lot of dead plays. I'm sorry, I was checking my notes to make sure I saw what the hell I wrote. Just a lot of dead plays, where it was like busted plays where guys were missing tackles or not being in their proper assignments, just killing the momentum of the team. Bucks tried to come back and make it a game. At that point, it was 34-18. It was really a waste. But the real story outside of Derrick Henry and Lamar, before I even really harp on them even further, the injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, which I thought were outside of horrendous for Chris Godwin, which, you just hope for a speedy recovery and that he feels better, period, and he makes a sound decision about his career going forward. Mike Evans, seeing him with that hamstring, trying to play through that hamstring, knowing it was tight, wouldn't have been necessarily my choice or my decision, but I understand why. He's a professional, he's a competitor. But Baker Mayfield's going to suffer because of this. These 2 guys being out, yes, he's been relying a lot on K-Dot and that tight end, but these 2 guys being out, it's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard. And also, too, the Ravens took away the running game for the Bucs, so I definitely think that was a plus. Ravens racking up wins now. They're in a situation where they know, like, as long as they keep playing at a high level, they're going to be right back in the situation they were in last year, which was the AFC Championship game with the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. Going to that last doubleheader from Monday night was the Cardinals versus Chargers. Very sleepy, weepy type of game. Cardinals won 17-15 because the Chargers decided to kick field goals. Not a great performance just overall from the Chargers. The offense was driving the ball up and down the field, but then couldn't score, so definitely not a great sign. The Cardinals did play well together for the most part of the night. And the Chargers in the beginning of the game were pretty much struggling to run the ball in the first half, just really, really having a hard time. And the passing attack for them for the Chargers had kept them in the game for the most part, but they really just hadn't had any continuity. Just really couldn't really put anything together to take the lead. Struggled on offense, no consistent running game. J.K. Dobbins was getting stopped. Chargers settled for field goals. Again, needing touchdowns, settling for field goals. And that was ultimately the difference in that game. Kyler Murray and James Conner played hard. Shout out to the Cardinals for that. Sound defense, gotta give it to them, but gotta score touchdowns on field goals. This is what it boils down to. The Chargers gonna win this game. You got Jalen Reagor fumbling. Good riddance. His ass no longer in Philadelphia. Not sure he's even going to still be on the team and for the Chargers in a year because that was just bad. That was egregious to turn the ball over right there. Again, got to give a lot of props to the Chargers and how they perform. Cardinals too, like I said. Chargers didn't run the ball well, which again we kind of expected. We kind of knew with the way the attack was coming, but turnovers. That's pretty much what caused the Chargers. You got those fumbles. Those fumbles and not being able to score. So it sucks. And the Chargers are one of those teams where they're definitely a couple pieces away, but they could definitely be a playoff team if they had those pieces now, but nowhere near ready. And it really sucks. Wrapping up a couple house notes before I end this episode. Jameis Winston looks like he's going to finally get his shot to start. Obviously, with the Deshaun Watson injury being out for the season. Will this breathe new life into the Browns? Will it be too late for them, or more or less will it be something that the team's going to definitely let play out? Which I think obviously the latter, the team's going to let it play out. But I think it's a big opportunity for Jameis Winston and the Browns as well, because here's the little elephant in the room that neither the Browns or anybody out loud that reports for the Browns wants to discuss. Joe Flacco came in there and played well a year ago. If this guy comes in there and plays well, it's kind of an indictment. So I digress. Next was Cooper Kupp, which this one kind of shocked me. I did not see this coming. Cooper Kupp's name was mentioned in a bunch of different trade possibilities. Seems that Cooper Kupp and the Rams have definitely acknowledged this, obviously. They indicate that and I don't know, one of my bros, shout out to Breeze, one of my bros is a diehard Rams fan, but I've asked this question consistently, and I get different answers from people, and I'll definitely have this as a poll question. I want you guys to definitely give me your honest, legitimate answer. Do you feel like the Rams sacrificed that one Super Bowl or sacrificed their franchise for that one Super Bowl? Because I think something that's ironic is I give the Rams credit because they won it. It's very hard to win. It's not like every team's going to automatically win the Super Bowl every year. That's just not how it plays out. And I give them supreme credit, props, all that. That being said, you gave up a shitload of draft picks to be in position to get Matt Stafford. And yeah, the trades wound up being a win-win for the Lions, wound up being a win-win for the Rams, especially because the Rams were able to win the Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. Though I'll admit, those picks that you gave up kind of helped set up Detroit. And I'm not saying completely like the whole overhaul of draft picks. I mean, a few of those draft picks wound up really helping change things around. So, interesting, a little weird, but Cooper Kupp, I know he's gonna definitely get offers. There was a rumor that before the Deandre Hopkins trade was initiated, that Cooper Kupp was possibly going to be a Chief. I could definitely have saw that happening, but things just didn't work out. And what are you going to do with Matt Stafford if you're the Rams? Because clearly, seems like a rebuild's on the horizon, and not really sure if he's prepared or ready for that. That's a lot to ask out of him at this point in age of his career, so we'll see. Rams didn't even want to give him the extension, so kind of lets you know the writing was on the wall there. Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints has agreed to a new 2-year, $24.5 million extension. The new deal is worth, now air quotes, worth $24.5 million. Here's the key kicker: $22.33 million is guaranteed, and the signing bonus is $155 million. So keep that all in mind. Then you got Jerry Jones and his. You know what? It's weird what's going on in Dallas. Between Jerry Jones making comments and then you got Troy coming out speaking correctly and contritely about the issue. Completely, honest and forthright. And then the response is, not only are you here bothering me about this, but my kids can do whatever they want. It's crazy. It's crazy. Jerry Jones he treats these players as if they are his children. He treats them as if they are his kids. But I think that a lot of people are missing the point with this. Jerry Jones has been able to skate this whole offseason with rhetoric. He's doing it right now. He's talking to you about a whole bunch of things, about him going crazy on the radio show, him going crazy, talking about all these different things that, not getting Derrick Henry as a fit, all these different things that just have nothing to do with you didn't execute and do your job in the offseason. Troy Aikman's comments are correct. The guys are running half-assed in their routes. They do look lackadaisical. fortunate enough to be able to have that I'm subscribed somewhere where I can actually watch the footage. I can download some of it and keep get an eye on it. Troy Aikman is definitely correct. And to be honest with you, it's not a shock that Jerry's comments were what they were. I mean, I even have, if you're curious to hear all his comments on a radio interview from a day ago, I do have the link within the description. Definitely check it out. It's on the Rich Eisen Show podcast. It's on Roku. Definitely shout out to Rich Eisen and the guys. But I think also, too, like I said, Jerry's quotes, just a lot of things just very weird in Dallas Cowboysville. And if you're the Cowboys, this is a get-right game against San Fran. San Fran's weak right now. They're vulnerable. They're playing like shit. This is definitely your time to catch them. If you don't catch San Fran right now, it's over for the Dallas Cowboys. And wrapping up this episode, definitely I really want you guys to understand completely when I say this. It is fun watching football all day. It is very damn hard watching 4 different, split screens of football and trying to keep up and keep content. So delivering all of this, guys, notes and everything, I do apologize if things wound up a day or so late, but it's a pleasure of mine to be able to report this and have this opportunity to deliver this podcast to you guys and deliver this content. So I thank you as always. Again, that's going to wrap up this episode for episode 85. Again, like, share, and subscribe, guys. Check the show out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Substack. No more episodes are going to be coming. If you haven't already checked out episode 84, which was the Eagles recap, if you're a part of the Bird Game, Fly Eagles Fly. Like I said, Thursday Night Football, Apple TV. You also catch on Amazon Prime Video. You definitely catch the Thursday Night Football, which will be Rams and Vikings, the O'Connell Bowl. Definitely something to catch. But again, guys, enjoy your rest of your game. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully, wherever you're watching this, you're probably off work. But if you're at work, hurry up and get out there and get back to it. Take care and enjoy the rest of the day.